The 2 unconscious reasons why people fall in love with you. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to hypnotize us instantly? That magnetic connection that appears out of nowhere. That gaze that feels like it pierces right through your soul? It's not just coincidence. There's a deeper logic behind love, and it goes far beyond looks or anything obvious. Many people think falling in love is irrational, a mysterious force we can't control. But what if I told you that, most of the time, people fall in love with you for just 2 specific reasons? Deep, hidden, and incredibly powerful reasons. In this video, you'll discover what really happens inside someone's mind and heart when that intense spark ignites. We're diving into the unconscious mechanics of attraction and revealing what drives those unforgettable connections. If you've ever been swept off your feet, or you want to truly understand how to win someone's heart, stick with me till the end. Most people believe love is magical, unpredictable, something that just happens. But in reality, it follows very specific patterns. The thing is, those patterns are hidden deep within us. Maybe you felt an instant, unexplained attraction to someone. Or maybe you keep finding yourself drawn to the same type of person, even when you think you're choosing differently. That's not random. It's deep psychology at play. The science of human behavior, especially Carl Jung's analytical psychology, shows us that we're guided by internal images, archetypes, memories, and emotional experiences from our past that shape who we're drawn to. On this channel, we break down these ideas in a way that's simple and transformative, blending science, mental health, and self-awareness. Because understanding how love works isn't just romantic, it's empowering. You don't have to keep repeating the same patterns. You can start seeing love more clearly and live with more truth. The unconscious logic of love. Love is one of the most powerful feelings we experience, yet we rarely stop to ask, how does it really work? Why do we fall in love with certain people and not others? What pulls us in so deeply that it changes our thoughts, behaviors, even our life plans? According to depth psychology, the answer isn't surface level. There's an invisible logic behind love, a kind of unconscious blueprint shaped by internal forces we're not even aware of. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, was one of the first to explore this hidden logic. To him, romantic love doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the result of 2 psyches meeting, each carrying wounds, desires, and repressed parts of the self. In other words, what draws us to someone else is often a reflection of what's missing or unresolved within us. Think of it this way. Every person carries a set of emotional experiences in their unconscious, traumas, longings, fears, ideas of what love should feel like. When someone shows up and unknowingly activates those inner images, we feel that magnetic pull. It's not magic, it's unconscious resonance. That person, without realizing it, touches exactly what echoes in our hidden hopes, needs, or emotional gaps. This unconscious logic of love can be beautiful, but also dangerous. When we fall in love, we don't always see the other person as they truly are. Instead, we project onto them what we need to see, feel, or heal. That's why some relationships start off intensely, only to fall apart later. The initial connection is built on illusion, and when that illusion breaks, disappointment follows. But here's the thing, that disappointment isn't failure. It's a chance to grow. Jung believed that true love isn't about someone completing us, it's about someone revealing us to ourselves. Love is a mirror, and it reflects not just our beauty, but also what's incomplete inside us. When we fall in love, it's like lost parts of ourselves come to life through another person. That's why love can be so deeply transformative. It brings us back to ourselves, even when we think we're reaching out to someone else. When we understand this logic, everything begins to shift. We start recognizing our patterns. We question that sudden intensity. We observe with more clarity. And that awareness, that's freedom. Love stops being just emotion and becomes a powerful journey of self-discovery. Projection and romantic attraction. Have you ever wondered why certain people draw us in like magnets? Why we sometimes feel deeply connected to someone we barely know? The answer might lie in a psychological phenomenon that's as powerful as it is invisible: projection. When we talk about romantic attraction, we're not just talking about chemistry, looks, or compatibility. We're talking about how the unconscious recognizes in someone else something it desires, has repressed, or has lost. Projection is a natural function of the human mind. It happens when we unconsciously transfer traits, emotions, or desires we can't fully acknowledge in ourselves onto another person. In love, this projection creates a powerful effect. We see in the other exactly what we've been searching for. But here's the catch. Those qualities we admire might not actually belong to that person. What we're seeing is a reflection of our own inner world. For example, someone who grew up in an emotionally distant environment might feel an intense pull toward a person who seems nurturing and safe. What's happening here is the unconscious trying to heal an old wound, finding in the other a promise of comfort. It's a genuine search, but also one wrapped in illusion. That sense of completeness comes more from our need than from the reality of who the other person truly is. And that leads us to the first unconscious reason people fall in love. The other represents something missing within us. They temporarily fill an internal void. Sometimes it's a quality we admire: courage, freedom, tenderness, passion. Other times it's something we didn't even realize we needed. The unconscious sees and desires before the rational mind catches on. That's why passion can hit so hard. It stirs deep parts of our identity and unresolved wounds. The relationship becomes a way of seeking, through the other, pieces of ourselves. This is why we're often so drawn to specific people, and also why, once the projection fades, we may feel let down or even rejected. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But that transformation can be painful when we don't realize part of our passion was built on an unconscious illusion. The person who attracts us isn't responsible for our projections. We're the ones who place those expectations onto them. The good news is that becoming aware of this process can be incredibly freeing. When we start recognizing our projections, we learn to love more consciously. Relationships shift from being fueled by unrealistic expectations to becoming real spaces of exchange, where two people meet, not to complete each other, but to grow together. To love is not just to surrender to emotion, it's also to discover yourself through the other. And the more we recognize our own projections, the more prepared we are to experience a genuine, grounded love, one based on truth, not illusion. Anima and animus, archetypes of love. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, two powerful inner forces shape how we experience love and attraction: anima and animus. Though invisible, these archetypes have a profound influence on how we perceive and relate to the opposite sex, and often explain why we fall in love with the people we do. The anima represents the archetypal feminine image in a man's psyche, while the animus is the archetypal masculine image within a woman's psyche. But this isn't just about gender or sexual orientation. It's about internal energies that influence how we idealize others, projecting our inner world onto real-life partners. Imagine a man who idealizes women as intuitive, sensitive, and artistic. When he meets someone who embodies those traits, he feels an instant connection. But that spark isn't necessarily because he knows her. It's because his unconscious recognizes her as the embodiment of his anima. The same thing happens when a woman sees in a man strength, logic, or wisdom. Her animus is being activated. And here we find the second major unconscious reason people fall in love. The other awakens an archetypal image within us. It's like reuniting with a long-lost piece of our inner world. That's why we sometimes feel like we've known someone forever, even if we've just met. The attraction is intense, even mystical. But it can also be misleading, because we often confuse the archetype with the real person. These projections aren't flaws, they're natural. We all carry an anima or animus within. The problem arises when we cling too tightly to these idealized images, expecting the other person to match the fantasy. That's when disappointment and frustration set in, because no one can live up to a projection forever. Jung believed that integrating the anima and animus is key to the process of individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, complete human being. When we begin to recognize these inner images and integrate them into ourselves, we stop desperately searching for them in others, and that's when the possibility for real love emerges. Love that's free of unconscious distortions. A love based on integration is more mature, more conscious. It's no longer about finding your missing half, but about living as a whole person, ready to share rather than depend. This kind of love isn't rooted in need but in presence. It's not a fairy tale. It's a real connection between two souls who see each other as they truly are. No masks, no illusions. In short, anima and animus are internal lenses through which we view others in the world. And once we understand that, we begin to love with greater clarity, depth, and authenticity. Love as a tool for transformation. When we talk about love, we often think of intense emotions, deep connections, and moments of joy. But from the perspective of Carl Jung's analytical psychology, love goes much deeper than that. It's not just a fleeting passion or romantic feeling. Love can be, and often is, a powerful force for inner transformation. Jung believed that true love doesn't just comfort us, it changes us. He taught that we often fall for people who reflect hidden parts of ourselves, forgotten aspects, unhealed wounds, or untapped potential. And that's exactly why love can be so challenging. It brings to the surface everything we've tried to keep buried. It exposes our shadows. But it also offers us a rare opportunity for growth, healing, and self-discovery. Think about how the most intense relationships often push you to face your own limitations, abandonment fears, jealousy, insecurity, repeated patterns. The other person, often unknowingly, becomes a mirror of your inner world. It's as if the relationship becomes a stage where your most important lessons are acted out. This isn't by chance. The energy of love accelerates what Jung called the individuation process, the journey of becoming whole. That journey means learning who we truly are, both our light and our shadow. Real love doesn't demand perfection, it invites authenticity. It calls us to grow, to drop the masks, to heal old wounds, and to reclaim the forgotten parts of our soul. Along the way, we become more aware, more human, and more whole. Here's a clear example. You enter a relationship and notice you're constantly trying to please, avoiding conflict, or losing yourself just to avoid rejection. These behaviors, often rooted in childhood, become visible only through the emotional intensity of love. Love shines a light on those patterns and gives you the chance to rewrite them. But that takes courage. The courage to look inward, to face pain instead of running from it, to grow instead of staying stuck. That's the true transformative power of love. It turns us inward. And even if the relationship ends, the lessons remain. In fact, it's often the pain of loss that wakes us up to who we really are. As painful as it may be, love moves us. It transforms us, and ultimately, it reconnects us to the essence of life itself. Jung believed that love is one of the most vital experiences for the soul's evolution. It's a catalyst that activates our inner development. It's not just about being with someone. It's about who you become because of that connection. That's why love isn't a failure when it ends. It's a success every time it transforms us. Consciousness and true love. Now that we've explored the depths of love, it's time to take one step further, to look closely at what we mean when we talk about true love. And to truly understand it, we need to talk about something essential. Consciousness love, when lived unconsciously, becomes a fertile ground for projections, fantasies, and disappointment. Have you ever felt head over heels for someone, only to later realize you were more in love with the idea of them than the person themselves? That's more common than you might think. And that's where consciousness comes in, because only through awareness can we distinguish between what's real and what we're projecting. Carl Jung said that unconscious love is merely a projection of our own soul onto someone else. You don't actually love them. You love what they represent in your psyche. That representation is shaped by your unmet needs, unhealed wounds, and emotional fragments longing to be made whole. The problem is, When you do this without realizing it, you stop seeing the person for who they really are. You see who you need them to be. This kind of love is unstable and ultimately painful. No one can live up to a fantasy forever, and when the illusion crumbles, the love seems to fade. But what's really ending is not the love, it's the illusion. True love, on the other hand, is born from consciousness. It arises when you can see the other person as a real human being, flawed, beautiful, complex, just like you. This love doesn't come from a place of emptiness, but from the wholeness of someone who already feels complete. It doesn't seek to be completed by another, but to share a journey together. That doesn't mean conscious relationships are easy or conflict-free. Far from it. But there's a key difference. Conflict becomes an opportunity for growth, not a threat. Communication is more honest, expectations are more grounded, and the connection feels more authentic. All of this becomes possible when we take responsibility for our own projections, patterns, and wounds. When we stop blaming others for not fulfilling our fantasies and begin building relationships rooted in truth, not illusion. Conscious love requires maturity. It demands a commitment to truth even when it's uncomfortable. It takes courage, the courage to grow, to change, and to let go of childlike expectations. But that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because it's through this kind of love that we discover the freedom to truly be ourselves and allow others to be themselves too. Once you reach this level of awareness, you realize that real love doesn't control. It liberates. It doesn't try to shape the other, but accepts and honors them. It doesn't feed off neediness. It grows from choice. And the conscious decision to love someone day after day is one of the most beautiful and profound expressions of the human soul. So if you're seeking true love, start with yourself. Look inward. Heal what needs healing. Integrate what needs integrating. Only then can you truly love with your whole heart and be loved in return just as fully. As we come to the end of this deep and meaningful journey, let's take a moment to revisit the key insights that reveal why people fall in love with you, and why it's far more profound than it may seem at first glance. We started by understanding that love isn't random. It follows an unconscious logic. We don't fall for someone just because of looks or charm. There's an invisible mechanism at play, powered by emotional memories, hidden needs, and parts of our psyche quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. We then explored the concept of romantic projection. When someone sees in you a quality they feel is missing within themselves, that recognition creates a magnetic pull, though often it's an illusion. You become a mirror, and they fall for the image they've projected onto you, not necessarily for who you truly are. Next, we dove into Jungian archetypes, especially the concepts of anima and animus, the inner masculine and feminine energies we all carry. These internal images shape what we seek in others and help explain why some connections feel so meant to be. But again, they're projections, powerful ones, that need to be recognized so they don't trap us in emotional cycles. The fourth part, we looked at how love can be a powerful tool for transformation. Love challenges us, stretches us, and reveals who we really are. The other person becomes a mirror to our hidden parts, awakening both our greatest potential and our deepest insecurities, pushing us toward growth. And finally, we explored consciousness and true love. The key lies in recognizing our projections and freeing ourselves from unconscious patterns. When that happens, love stops being about neediness and becomes a conscious choice. It matures, deepens, and becomes an encounter between two whole individuals, not two halves searching for salvation. If you've made it this far, remember, it's not about changing the other person. It's about looking within. It's about transforming the way you relate to yourself so you can truly connect with someone else. Love begins within, and that's where the real transformation starts. You deserve to experience a love that's conscious, real, and transformative. And the first step is exactly what you're doing right now, seeking knowledge, clarity, and a deeper understanding of yourself. Now that you have the tools and insight into how love really works, it's time to take action. If any of these ideas resonated with you, or if you're ready to shift your love life into a more conscious space, take a moment to reflect on your own projections. Love becomes deeper and more authentic when we see it as a journey of self-discovery, not a mission to fill the gaps. If this video spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. And feel free to share this video with friends or loved ones who could benefit from these insights. After all, everyone deserves to love more consciously, right? Drop a comment below. Which of these lessons are you going to apply in your next relationship? I'd love to hear your thoughts and how this message is reshaping the way you view love. Thanks for watching all the way through. Remember, love is a reflection of who we are. When we truly love ourselves, the connections around us evolve too. See you in the next video, and may your path be filled with growth, healing, and self-discovery.